At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Podcast SEO monetization tips for regional businesses. Yes, today is for regional businesses. I'm excited. I'm super excited that we're going to talk about this a little bit more in extension because we've talked about this previously, but I also feel like right now is the best time to create content if you're a regional business to focus on building trust and building loyalty, building PR, building brand awareness around topics that you cover. If you're covering business topics that relate to your industry, then the topics of discussion should be focused on the locations that you serve from. So if you have 2 locations, 5 locations, 50 locations, each location can have its own episode title focused on that city, that state. So that if you say, let's say, for example, you say, let me shout out to Australia because I was checking my analytics and Australia is really big on listening in. So thank you, Australia, for listening. Thank you to Singa for being here too. I noticed that a lot of people in Australia are listening. So if I know that there are different provinces in Australia, then if you have 5 different, let's even break it down to 3. You have 3 different businesses or the same business in 3 different locations, then your podcast would have the words of the city that you're talking about, right? If you're focusing on an episode that's going to help somebody discover your business in the form of an audio. Now, the direct response to that, which is really cool, is that when you do that, and in that same episode that you published, you've mentioned the name of that city and state, or you've mentioned that province or that place that you want to call wherever you are in the world, and put that into your script or into your conversation, the number of times that you say that is also going to amplify your monetization, because in another way, monetization is not just monetary. Yes, you're looking for conversions, but there's no conversion that started without, or that didn't start without a conversation. There had to be some trust involved. There had to be some level of understanding. There had to be an agreement of some kind. So when you're looking at regional businesses and not just one business, because we've talked about local businesses before, where you can focus on one city, one state, one province, one place, one area, and then use that area within a 5 to 20 mile radius or even 25 mile radius and dominate that area by focusing on the areas within those places that you can use as podcast episodes to focus on platforms and industries you serve. So if you serve in these areas, then write those actual names of those cities in your episodes. Write them in your copy. Speak them out. Say them loud. And talk to the people who live there. If you're talking to a specific state or city or area or zip code or district, county, province, whatever it is, those people that are there are searching within their own spaces, within their own location. So if they're going to Google, or they're going to ChatGPT, or they're going to Siri, or they're going to one place or the other to look for information, and you have that information resource available to them, then the only way that they can find it is when you tag them to your content. And the only way you can do that is by creating content for them, so that when they find information they're looking for, because you posted it once upon a time, and more importantly, you posted it recently, then they're going to find your content reasonable, because they'll see, oh, this person's in my city. Okay, I'm looking for massage spa near Honolulu, Hawaii. If you live in Honolulu, you're going to click on that. If you're going to see something else that says, oh, I'm in South Dakota, you may not really click that because that's not where you are. But if you're in South Dakota and you have a specific city there, then that's what's going to pertain to you. So it's going to be different, right? If you live in Seattle, Washington, shout out to you guys as well listening, which is amazing. Thank you for listening always. Amazing people are listening everywhere, every day, all over the world. And I hope that this is helping you too, as it's helping me learn more about what you need. So you're creating content consistently and you're in these specific areas. So if you say these words and someone lives in one of these places that you've mentioned and they're looking for something that you provide, there's going to be a match. The reason why it's a match is because you spoke it out into the world, you manifested it, you prayed about it, you put it out there, and the person that's looking for what you gave to the world is what they're looking to receive. So if you're looking for conversions, then start off with conversations that matter based on answering questions that help the regional axis pay more attention to you. So if you focus on one keyword, build around that keyword. If you focus on cooking, okay, what about cooking? There's pressure cooking, there's Asian cooking, there's African cooking, there's vegan cooking, there's pescatarian cooking, there's whatever type of cooking, there's protein, there's probiotics. You start going to specific keywords that pertain to health and fitness. So anytime someone's looking for something like a protein shake or looking for a milkshake, if you have something in your content that talks about that in some way or form, and let's say you have a business that talks about those things, or that's what you sell in your store, then that's what you want people to hear. So it's the best way to monetize is to first of all look at your visibility, right? Once your visibility is intact, the ball is in their court, because that visibility now is for them to now do their validation and see if they trust your brand. I can't do any research if I don't know what I'm looking for. So once I know what I'm looking for, I'm going to do the research. So when you're monetizing, I've given you 15 tips that you can use still and apply to this. So I'm not going to go through the 15 tips. You can listen to that in the previous room that we did in the previous episode. Majorly, this is to double down on what you do, because if you think about it, even if you're a regional business, you're still local. Even if you're an international business, you're still local somewhere. So you're local to someone, but you could be international to someone, right? The Dubai Mall could be international to someone, but someone who lives 5 miles down the road could be local to them. So you start looking at it from not just your perspective, but what the actual scope looks like. So if you want to monetize as a business, create FAQs, frequently asked questions about your business, about your service, about your product, and say, hey, we sell socks. Okay, what do these socks feel like? Okay, what kind of socks match with this outfit? Okay, are they silk socks? Are they cotton? Is it 80% cotton? You start going into details that you would have if you were having a conversation with someone. And when you start doing that consistently, the person that's listening to you is going to learn about your product without you having to advertise it all the time or rub it in their face, because now they're listening to you and they're paying attention to the details as opposed to you trying to pay attention to what they're trying to buy. So when that shift changes and you're using a podcast SEO changes the whole game, because now with podcast SEO, you have a title on your podcast that's answering a question about something specific. And one thing that I love about podcast episodes is that each episode has a way to shine. You can have a full show, but maybe 100 episodes are the ones that are taking the cake. It might just be 3, it might just be 2, it might just be 5, or even just one episode is what allowing people to discover you. It always takes one song, one lyric, one quote, one episode, one something. But that something has to be generated from somewhere. And your mind is the first place it starts from. So if you want to monetize as a regional business, use your podcast episode and your titles and your author sections and all those places where you talk about channel keywords and base it based on your locations. So if you have a podcast, for example, and your podcast is a restaurant, let's use a restaurant, for example, and you sell food. What type of food? Let's say you sell Mediterranean food. Now, if you have a podcast show and you serve 3 locations within that city or within that region, you can create a podcast show, and the author of that podcast show will not be your name, it will be your restaurant's name. And then you'll have pipe, and you'll have all the locations that you serve into that name. So now that author name is a business name that somebody can find on the show, and then they can find you as a featured guest. So now you can say, hey, a welcome message from the CEO, from the founder, then you put your name there in the episode title. What you've just done is that you've now given prominence to your business as the author of the content, which is your intellectual property to begin with. So now you have that content, and now if you want to monetize, the only way you can monetize on a podcast is through your dashboard, is through your analytics, is through your intellectual property, through your content, through your delivery, through your network, and through your distribution. If those are not strong enough, it's going to be hard to monetize anything. So monetization is an exchange of value. So where do you put your value in, and how do you appreciate that value over time? So as a regional business, if you have 3 locations, and now you have 3 locations, put those 3 locations in the author. So if it's, let's say, you serve in Seattle, Honolulu, let's give another example, Las Vegas. Now you have 3 different cities, right, that have now been put as an author because that's where you're serving. Now, those are completely different areas if you're now looking at it from that region, right? What are you doing within each of the regions, right? Are you in the southern region? Are you in the west? Where are you that is going to still give you that dominance? Because at the end of the day, it's still local. If someone's going to search from their area, they're going to see those 3. So if you know you're serving the DMV area, then you want to say that so that when someone's looking for that information, you're within that specificity. You're within that search bracket. So the regional place is for you to now position your content so that when people are looking for you in those areas, the first word that comes out of your URL after your domain should be the words that people come out of thinking with, that they type on their keyboards. So if you're able to match what people are typing with what you're saying, or what you want them to say, or what you know that they'll say because you've done the research, then it's going to be easier for you to find out what they want because you're giving them what they need. Give them what they need first, right? Let me actually put it this way. Give them what they want, and then give them what they need. Because when you give them what they want, attention has been entrusted. Retention has been retained. Retention has actually been sustained, because what's going to happen now is for them to stay, they would have to stay connected to what they first got attracted to, right? That's where the attraction comes in. If you're attracted to something, or even a relationship, you're attracted to someone, what's going to keep you to stay in that relationship is what you're attracted to in the first place. And if that changes, that's going to change the trajectory of how you communicate based on how you initially like that thing or that person. So it's the same thing with your business. So if you have a podcast show and you keep talking about information that is helpful, and you realize, okay, I have 10 episodes, but out of these 10, people love to come back to listen to food, or they love talking about sea salt, or I had an episode about relationships, or I had an episode about an FAQ that we did for this region, and we did for 3 regions, and we realized this one had a higher episode download or higher unique listeners than this region, then that tells us that this region has more potential listeners, which allows us to now use that data and go back into the monetization and see where within those data fields can we be able to fulfill their desire, their needs, based on what they're looking for. Are we going to give them more content? Are we going to be on social media? Are we going to do a pop-up? Are we going to do a local event? Are we going to do something like a sale? Are we going to run ads? Are we going to go on a billboard? What are we going to do? So using a podcast is a good way to build that. And of course, bringing in your staff, your guests, is a winner. Because if you're having a business and it's the only way you can talk to the officer, or you can talk to the manager, or you're talking to the creator, or you're talking to the influencer, or whoever the manager is, the only way you can reach them normally would be through like LinkedIn, for example. But now imagine if you could listen to that person's voice on a podcast. You know how extensive that would feel? Just imagine listening to your favorite brands CEO or founder sending you a message through a podcast episode for 5 minutes, telling you how the business is going and how you feel and how, what the brand represents, and just pretty much documenting their journey with you on live mode. That's a beautiful thing, because that means now I can always go back to a reference point because I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Most times we're trying to create content for people so that they can find us. Yet, if we just focus on what one person asked for and then deliver it and keep building on that, the more people that are looking for the same problem solution will find you in the same problem and solution. I would call it a framework, so to speak. So you're able to give them that problem solution network because they're able to find the solution within the problem, and that problem is being searched on search engines like Google, like Microsoft, like ChatGPT, like Perplexity, like Cloud, like Kibi, like DeepSeek, like Grok, like Meta AI. These are different platforms that you're using. So the goal is to build tenacity and use the podcast as a place of reference. The podcast, think about your podcast as intellectual property. Don't think about it as, I'm going to monetize. Think about it as intellectual property. If you had 3 assets, think about your podcast being your 4th, because that 4th is going to validate the 3 or validate all 4. Because now someone can listen to you, they can hear your process, they can hear the interviews you've had in the past. You have content, you have subscribers, you have a listenership, you have authorship, you have readership. It's a lot of ships sailing. Let me just say it that way. You have a lot of relationships, partnerships, affiliates. Like, it starts to get more and more inclusive because you're not just focusing on, hey, I got a podcast, listen to this. Hey, I got a business, listen to this. No, the goal is for them to know that, hey, I know what you got going on and I have a solution for what you need to solve this problem. So keep listening to this so that we can also get to the bottom of the solution. And a podcast is a place of reference. It's not a place of just creating content because you have information to give. It's a place of reference. So if you want to reference an episode or reference a chapter or reference a topic or reference a conversation, you can reference an episode or you can reference a section in the episode. So that monetization is important. And now you talk about pre-rolls, mid-rolls, and post-rolls. When you have a pre-roll, that's right before the episode starts. When you have a mid-roll, that's halfway through the episode. You have a post-roll, that's right after. The same thing you see on YouTube. It's just different names, same difference, right? If you go to YouTube, before you start watching any YouTube video, what you're actually doing is watching a pre-roll. You're watching an ad, yes, but you're technically watching a pre-roll if it was in the format of a podcast, right? If you're watching Spotify video and it's a podcast and you're getting an ad before your show comes on, that's a pre-roll. So whether it's an audio or a video, it's a pre-roll. So if you're going to use that same context and say, how do I monetize? It's the same thing. Welcome, Adrian. So it's the same thing that gets you to that same result. So build your monetization based on value exchange and not just content exchange, right? When you think about that exchange and that value, it gives you a much better opportunity to have a higher score over time. So it gives you a much better leeway to know exactly what someone is looking for at the time they're searching for it. And then when you think about monetization now regional business-wise, even local-wise, national-wise, international-wise, I'm just breaking it down into different parts so that you can kind of like jigsaw it back into one, which is very important too. When you do monetization within your regions, like I mentioned, do an FAQ section. Let's say you have 5 locations, do an FAQ about this location, this location, this location, this location, this location. All locations have FAQs about the same questions, but in different results because they're serving different people, but within the same industry. Now, when you answer those questions and you now have, let's say you've done it Monday through Friday, or you drop them all at once like an album, right? And everybody's like, okay, here we go. You've dropped all those episodes at once. Now everybody in those locations has seen it. Now for me, that's a tactical strategy. That's an album drop. Because if I have a new business, a new podcast, and I have 5 locations, I'll do that, drop them at the same time, same day. And when I drop them all at the same time, same day, they're all going to be showing up in different locations, but all on the same platform. So that means it's to the power of 5. So if I know there are 50 people that are going to listen to this episode, and there are 50 people in 4 other areas, that's 250 people, right? 50 times 5. Now I got 250 people listening in that never had a chance to listen to this, or never even knew this existed, or knew it existed but has never seen the reflection of a podcast from the business they've discovered. So now when they see that, they're like, oh, wow, they have a podcast? Okay, I'd love to know who the founder is. Okay, oh, you guys are here. Okay, you're just down the street. Oh, I love your cupcakes. Okay, before you know it, people start coming in, and you're building tenacity because you have a podcast that's monetizing. Monetization is not just, oh, how much is your episode? It's what's the value exchange? What are you giving people that's going to make them come back later? Are you giving them information? Are you giving them value? Are you giving them content? Are you giving them tips? Are you giving them insights? Are you giving them news? Are you giving them recipes? What are you giving them that you can do within your capacity, which is your genius? Because I'm not going to tell you this is how to monetize. That's the last thing I'll do. What I'll do is share with you how it can be done, and then you can take that information and see how you can turn that into your structure, because every business is different. If you want to work with me, work with my team, I'll be happy to. Before I jumped on here for you to listen to this, I just jumped off a team meeting. We had a meeting with the team, and it was a great discussion focusing on everything that we need to do this year, and just making sure every client is seeing themselves at that point where they need to be. And it's exciting to see all the results, because it's kind of like all rising tides, because most of the articles and also the positions on the websites have also pushed up within a 1 to 20 mile radius, if I can call it that way, between a 1 to 20 page listing, if I can use that same analogy. So it's a good thing, because last year around this time, most of them were between 40 to 70, and now they're between 1 to 20. So just imagine what will happen by the end of this year if they're starting off at a higher gear. It's like somebody starting off at gear 5 and you're starting off at gear 2. There's no way you're going to catch up. You're going to need gear 3, gear 4, and 5 when they're already on 5, on 10. So you have to think about where you can be and where you can show up for, and who you can show up for based on the information that you give consistently. So your monetization as a regional business is to deliver information that each location has a significant, unique difference to, that you can address and highlight in form of keywords, which can be put in form of text that can be transcribed, and also that can be screened, which can be found online or through search engines or traditional engines too. So if you have a location, put that location there. If you have an episode, bring people within your community. Let them talk about what you do, or tell them about your business or how you started. Give them information about recipes, or how did you make this? If you're going to do it video style, that's great. If you do an audio, even better. Or if you have audio, do an audiobook. Or if you have an audio, turn it into a graphic book, right? Turn it into something that is going to allow someone to say, okay, I listened to your podcast and I have something that's going to match to that. So when you do that consistently, now the person that is on the receiving end knows that they can get this information. Either they can get it for free or not. There's an episode I talked about some time back on free trials versus paid trials. And a lot of people were saying a lot of good things. I love the conversation, because it's like, are you going to do a $0 free trial, or are you going to do a $1 free trial? Which you're going to value more? It's the psychology of marketing. So if you're able to monetize as a podcast and show people, okay, if you want more information like this, I have a private podcast that you can subscribe to for 99 cents a month, or you can subscribe to for $9 or $99 a year. Whatever you're doing it for, you're building that capacity. So I'm giving you ideas that you can use for yourself. Feel free to rewind, pause, stop, think, plan, act on, come back. It's not a marathon. This is life. So just take your time. If you have the time for this, and if you have the passion like I do, please try this out, because this is going to help you so much as a business. And you're going to also, the benefit of what I'm saying here is also a financial benefit, because instead of you spending money on regions that you could be showing up on organically, that would be a better positioning for you as a market, as a business, within the business share, within the business market share system. Is just a win-win-win, because that way you're spending less money and you're covering more bandwidth, you have more equity because you have a bigger brand. Now, when you run ads, that 80% that you could have gotten by getting ads, you're getting that organically, and you're just pushing 20% to make it 100% because you already have the top of the line and also the bottom of the line. So building that is a good way to build that tenacity over time. So think about this as a business and ask yourself, okay, where am I going to be? And if I'm going to do this for myself, where are we going to go? Regional businesses, podcast SEO monetization is important. And if you're able to take this to the next level, it's going to help you long term. So I hope this helped you and give you some insight as well. Thank you, Kelsey, for being here. I just gave you a follow as well. Looking forward to connecting. If you have any question, feel free to put in the chat or raise your hand, and you're also welcome to the Marketing Club too. I usually have rooms like this, but I haven't done rooms in the daytime. Most times people come in the evening because everyone is busy. So I said, let me sneak up here and, talk to y'all for a little bit because I've been here for 5 years and it get really interesting. Hey, Kelsey, nice to meet you.
Meet you as well. Thank you so much for allowing me to come up and talk in your space. It's so good that we have rooms like this because we need this. It's like for those podcasters that's just getting started, where do we go for tips? I know we can go to YouTube, but to be, actually talking to someone in real time is actually amazing. So thank you so much for having this safe space. My question is, just getting started. I did try to write down some tips that you were giving because that was very, very good. So what would be some good tips on where to start in my podcasting business? Like I have a YouTube page. So if I wanted to do, I'm on Podbean as well. So where would I start with monetization on there?
Great question, Kelsey. I'll also say this before I go any further. Click the link at the top, and that will also get you an audit, and that's a free audit that you get from me. And I'll also be able to look at your website or look at your podcast and also let you know what I see, because visually it will tell me more. I can say what is important now, but it's going to be customized for everybody because everyone is different. And you're also on Podbean, which is a different platform too. So I know there are different stations that you can use, and Podbean is a good one as well. It's just how do you monetize and how do you scale is a question. So I usually talk about that and I send out emails. So when you click the link and you make it official, you can either get on a call with me, or if you don't, at least you have access to the information I send through email, because I send very deep insights with screenshots, with links, referrals. I make sure that I give you the evidence so that you can also do your research, so that what I say is not just going by what I say, but you're also looking at the facts and you're able to measure and know, okay, is this something I want to do? Or is it something I have to take time on? So it's a very good way for you to analyze it that way. But to your question, when you think about monetization and where to start, for me, I've been in podcasting since 2019. This is going to be 7 years podcasting in August, and we're over 600 episodes now. It's called We Don't Play. We Don't Play podcast.com. I'll put the link in the chat as well for anyone that wants to listen to the episodes. We're available everywhere. And when I started my podcast, I didn't think about monetization. All I thought about was conversation. I thought about people I want to talk to. I thought about places I want to visit. I just thought about conversation. And what led me and kept me going and still keeps me going is that I want to drive conversations that people can come back to in the future and listen to, that will help them and feel inspired, because podcasting is evergreen. So if I was to ask you, what's the one topic that you can keep talking about if the mic was forever on?
Absolutely. I am still learning, but it would definitely be God.
Okay, let's break it down. So would you be breaking down scriptures? Would you be giving people insight? Would you be praying for people? Would you be, what would be the continuous effect, and what would be the continuous loop?
And encourage with scripture.
Point that you've brought up now. So if that's going to be the goal, now you have to think about research, because research is going to be where you're going to see the most value exchange, the most value. And I'll give you a free platform you can check out, two actually. One is called listennotes.com with two N's, listennotes.com. That's a free platform. It's kind of like the podcast of Google, listennotes.com. You can also claim your podcast there too. And then the one that I wanted to mention initially, when you look at these two platforms that I'm about to mention, look at Listen Notes as your point of reference where people are coming to you for information. And then when you now create the content that people are looking for, they're able to find your content based on search. And when people are searching, they're searching with words. So the words that you can use is the first platform I wanted to talk to you about, which is iv.fm. That's ivy.fm. Now, iv.fm is a platform that allows you to search for anything, and it will tell you all the platforms that have episodes about that topic. So let's actually role play on this. So if you were to do an episode, let's say we're in the month of January, what topics would you discuss with people if you had 4 episodes once a week for at least 10 minutes of playtime?
Okay, could I have that question asked one more time, please?
What would be the topic you'd be talking about in January within a 4-week span?
How to walk boldly in your car.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
Calling.
How to walk boldly in your calling. Okay, so I'm now going to iv.fm and I'm going to type in, okay, let me see. Yeah, so I'll type in, let me just make it wide first. I'll type in Bible, since that's the foundation, then we can build up from there. So when I typed in Bible, right, there are 1.2, and this platform, just to give you the quick preface, there are 4 million podcasts in the world. So there's about, if you go to podcastindex.org, you'll see there are a little bit over 4 million, but iv.fm only scans the first million. So it's pretty much a filtered source. It's a filtered source. So this is giving you about a million podcast shows that would be matching the kind of search that you'd be looking for, that you would find if it was an Apple, Spotify, or any other platform you'd use for your podcast. And YouTube is not a podcast platform. It's a podcast listening platform, not a podcast hosting platform. So there's a difference between those two. So Bible has 1.28 million episodes, and there's 60.2K podcasts. Now, Bible Study has 119.6K episodes and 7.1K podcasts. Now, if I go to, let's say, Bible, and I click on that, it's going to now give me the average duration time, right? I'm doing this in live mode right now. So it talks about it says Bible, collection of religious texts in Judaism and Christianity, right? So now you see the whole thing there. It talks about how many new episodes. There are over 100 daily new episodes. Today is January 19th. The latest episode that was recorded was January 12th. That doesn't mean that people didn't talk about that on the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and today the 19th. It just means that the podcast shows that have been registered, that have that type of tenacity to maintain that type of depth or reach that extent of people, it didn't get to that point. So now when you look at related topics, it's going to give you different hashtags: scripture, gospel, testament, speaker, sermon, prayer. Now, all these words that I'm saying would be part of your script, it will be part of what you be talking about. So if you're getting people to discover their calling, there are scriptures that you're going to mention, there are prayers that you're going to pray, and those are things that are going to allow people to find you. So when they're I'm looking for episodes, or hey ChatGPT, or hey Siri, I'm looking for episodes that will help me find my calling, the response you're going to get from those machines is going to be highly based on how you position your podcast show. So if it's on Podbean, those words have to be explicitly written in your titles. If you already know the research on those, iv.fm will help you at least to get those hashtags, and then from there you can build it from there. There's always a lot that goes into it, but at least to get started and not just have a way of doing it halfway, that's a much better approach I would look into, as opposed to it just being done as episode 1 dash find your calling. That's not going to get you far. But if you do finding your calling or scriptural reference, full colon, finding your calling, that's where you start noticing that there's a big difference, because people start typing the way they talk. And when they talk, they type the way they think. So if you're able to use that full cycle effect and come back to how people will process it based on how you would deliver it, then that's where that match comes in. So I never give like a way straight formula, but I always give you a pathway so you can actually create your own formula within that blueprint. Does that help, Kelsey?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. I took notes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Great question. And welcome, Mr. Chris, Tony T, Sharon, George, Al, Philip, welcome back. Thanks for being here. I got 22 more minutes because I got to jump on a few calls today. So I said I'm going to use this time of the day to, come in and give you some insights. But majorly, if you're looking at monetization in 2026 as a podcast show, there are different ways you can do it. One way I can heavily advise, if you're a regional business, local business, international business, even a national business, a small business, mid-sized business, enterprise business, large business, franchise business, whatever business it is, your greatest asset and your greatest intellectual property online is your domain and your email list. Those two, because a domain is technically a website, and let me even say it this way, it's your domain and your mailbox. Just like you have an address and a mailbox, is the same way you have a website and a mailbox. Those are the two most important intellectual property assets that your business will ever need online, because the more you're feeding into those algorithms with your domain, with your emails, with your content, with your links, with your information, with your messages, that's what's going to translate into you being the correspondent answer. Because gone are the days of ranking on number 1. Yeah, you can rank number 1, but somebody's going to find number 5 more valuable or more convenient, because that's speaking to them more than what they're seeing at the top. People are always going to make their comparisons. So you're not looking at racing to the top. You're looking at who's the most convenient, who's the most responsive, and who's the most active. And if your podcast show is doing that, that's great. That's what I'm doing here. This podcast episode, this topic, this room on Clubhouse, this marketing club discussion we're having, anytime I come here, I always come based off of research. I will never do an episode or never do a topic of research or without research. Or I'll say off research, because if it's off research, then it's off topic and it's off context. So I always want to make sure that when you're listening to the replay here on Clubhouse and you're coming back to listen to it 2 years later, 3 years later, which I see, it's going to be 6 years on Clubhouse here this November. I've seen different things happen, and I know that this information may sound like a lot right now, but in a couple of weeks, months, maybe a year or two from now, it will click. It will make sense. Maybe not now, maybe sometimes, so maybe faster than you think, because you're putting more energy and more application into these things. For me too, the more I know, the more I don't know. I don't know everything, but the more I get to know more about the things I'm doing, the more I'm sharing with you, the more things I'm discovering. So it gets more exciting, because now I'm able to share with you some things that I've done that you can also do as well. So we can do it together. We can get on a call. We can schedule a meeting. We can get on a team discussion session. We can bootstrap it, or you can do it on your own and you can process and get the right things in place so that you can make the right decisions. Because this is a thing that takes time. My podcast didn't start running ads up until July of last year. Yeah, July of last year. So now if you go to my podcast, the link that you see in the chat, wedon'tplaypodcast.com, you'll always hear an episode with an advertisement, and it's going to be based on your location. So if you're listening in China, Brazil, if you're listening in US, if you're listening in anywhere, that's going to be something that you're going to hear before you come into the episode. You can always, skip, but one of the greatest things I've learned about podcasting and advertising is that just when I look at marketing in general, YouTube is the place that people skip the most, right? And I talked about this earlier in today's room, that when you look at YouTube, anytime you're skipping an ad on YouTube, you're technically skipping a pre-roll. But the reason why you're skipping the pre-roll is because it's on a second-party platform, because you don't own the platform, but you kind of sort of control the platform because it's your content that is being seen on YouTube. But the ads that are being run to your YouTube account is something you can't control. You can control the quality or the setting or the feature or the context, but the actual persona, it's different, right? Like Podbean and I think some other platforms, I think Libsyn, Liberated Syndication, there's some platforms that would not allow you to choose what brands to advertise on your platform. So you can't even control that within your own intellectual property asset. So there are levels to understanding these things, but now there are possibilities that you can do that and say, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. I don't want this brand. I want this brand. And if all brands are welcome, great. But if there are brands that are not going to be matching your style or matching your business, then it's going to be hard for you. So when you're on these platforms and they're running commercials through your podcast show, it's because someone that's listening to your show that lives in Arizona or lives in North Dakota or lives in Idaho or lives in Florida or lives in Texas is able to see that because that's what they're listening to. And the ad that they're getting is based on what they've been watching. If I've been listening to 5 podcast episodes about furniture, and then you land on my episode and you're listening to something, you might get an episode from Wayfair. You might get an episode from another company because you might be looking for information on that. So it's still going to give you the same thing that you get on your YouTube. But the difference and the thin line between these two is that YouTube is public, Spotify is private. In other words, when you create, let me say it this way to even make it better. When you hit skip on YouTube and it doesn't complete the full cycle, it's going to be hard for the bidder to complete the cycle because the person has paid for that click. So that click that has been paid for is so that it's clicked after the ad has been completed. But if this is a 30-second clip and I've skipped it after 5 seconds, I have 25 seconds that I didn't use, which is already 25 seconds into the episode that I came to watch or listen to, right? So if you're looking at the flip coin or the flip side of this monetization wise, why would you run ads on YouTube when you can run internal ads within your podcast? And there are ways to do that. I won't go too deep into it, but there are ways you can also do that too. So that if you have, let's say 200, let me just make it higher, $300 for 30 days, that's $10 a day. So if you know in the last 30 days, you've been running 4 episodes and you know that these are the top cities, countries, states, wherever that they're listening to your episodes are listening from, and you can read that in your analytics dashboard, you'll say, okay, let's take this $10 for the first 5 days and put $50 down. Today is Monday. So by Friday, I've been talking to you for the last 30 days. Now let me put $50 down and see if I can get more of the same people, or is it going to spread beyond that? And when that happens, what does that look like? Do we get more people from the same location, or do we get more people from the same area or different areas within the community? How does that look? So when you're now thinking about monetization, because you have a certain topic, then you look around, you're like, okay, where can I connect with? If I talk about, love, and I talk about, all these great things. Now Valentine's is on the way. It's very soon, in a couple of weeks. we're going to be saying Happy Valentine's, right? For some people. So when you look at the timeline between now and then, all you're getting right now commercial is Valentine's, right? Now, if you're a business, a brand, and there's a bookstore near you, or I'm just giving you all an example, so please try anything that you'd like to, but just use this example as a foundational comparison. If you have a bookstore nearby, or let's say you have a florist nearby, or there's a restaurant nearby that you know that on a Sunday afternoon after church, people are going to go there because they're going to have chicken wings, they're going to have sushi, they're going to have jollof rice, they're going to have something that's going to make them excited as a family because they're going to enjoy their time there, right? You go to that business and you say, hey, I have a podcast, and if I feature you on my show and I highlight the things that you guys serve, people can listen to your episode and get the menu, even though they're not coming to listen to your episode because they're hungry and that's what they came to do, eat. They're not coming to listen. They're leaving with a QR code. They're leaving with context. They're leaving with a brand affiliate partnership that you've created, which when they listen to that episode, they want to come back and try that turkey that you talked about on Thursday. So I'm just giving you guys random examples, but this is where it comes to. When you're monetizing, don't just look at what does my show bring, or what am I trying to say, or how much money am I trying to make? No, my podcast has been free and it's still free to come in, have a conversation with me. Let's talk. If you want to be on my show, you're always welcome. You're always welcome. The monetization comes from the back end, from the technical, from the setup, from the structural, from the business. It's a vertical. If you have a business, if you have a book, if you're an author, if you have a business, if you have a course, the podcast is a vertical. If you have it trademarked, even better, you can turn that into a license deal that you can use for distribution. So there's so many ways you can monetize as a business, but you have to also think about your business and ask yourself, where am I going? What am I using my business for? What is my podcast going to even talk about? And what are the things I'm going to discuss? There are 5 different types of podcast styles. There's solo, there's interview style. That's me versus you, or me with you, or us talking together on a frequent basis. There's co-host, right? Most times you can see co-host plus interview, 2 people talking together, and then they bring a third person. Now that third person can turn into a round table because now you have 3 people that are consistently connecting together. Beyond that, right? I've given you how many: solo, interview, co-host, round table. That's 4. And then the 5th one is theme, right? What's the theme? What's the setup? Is it faceless? Is it birds chirping? Is it, if you like to sleep with the rain sounds? What do you like, right? When you turn that into content that people can now see and know that this is what they're coming for, that's going to be the extension, and that's what's going to build that canasta. If it's just prayer, that's what's going to be, guidelines to that. Kelsey, we'd love to hear a question. Kelsey, do you want to say something? Oh,
Thank you so much. That has been so powerful. You are dropping nuggets, and this is all free, you guys. So oh my goodness, if you all want to start on whatever it is, your podcast, YouTube, whichever platform you want to start on, this information is free. I suggest you to take as many notes as you can and use that to your advantage, like he said, and put it in your own structured way. And let's get some, I'm not doing it for the money, but it's building your business. These are business tips and jewels that we can use to be successful and make it a business. That's my share. Thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing.
thank you, Kelsey. I'm glad that it's helping you, and anyone in the room as well listening or listening to the replay, I hope it's helping you too, because it's information that you can take home, you can process and take action on. I want you to take action, because think about it. You're just one person. You can't help 8 billion people, but you can make a wave that 8 billion people can help themselves that will make yourself in a better place as the one person out of 8 billion. So when you're looking at it from that perspective, The more you give, the more you receive. It's biblical, it's scriptural, it's logical, it's factual. It's just the way it is. So when you look at creating content and also allowing people to discover you based on what they're looking for, it's going to help. How did this podcast monetization even come to the place and begin with? Hey, Jonathan, glad to see you here too. How did this even happen? I was doing some research and I got to see some AI generated topics, and podcast monetization was one of them. And I saw within my dashboard that people are using AI to learn about podcast monetization. And they're asking Claude and ChatGPT and Perplexity. And I'm looking at this data and I'm like asking myself, okay, what are they finding? So I would do the search myself. That's literally what I would do. I would do the search myself and I'll see what I'll find. And I'm going to look at the last content that was published most recently. We're in January, right? So the most recent episode might be 2025 or 4, or maybe yesterday, or maybe just now, which is perfectly fine. But when you now start finding the results that are being placed into the ecosystem and you're not part of that ecosystem response, that's a question mark. Because imagine all this content you're dropping on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, but yet nobody's finding you on Google, or nobody's finding you on Pinterest, nobody's finding you on ChatGPT or Siri or Perplexity. So how do you justify what you've been doing on Canva and Fiverr for a long time? I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but there needs to be structure in place. So when you think about putting all this content and ask yourself, how much am I paying? What's the bottom line? What's the brand exposure? Am I using my domain? Am I using my mailbox? Am I sending out emails? Am I sending out links to my website? Am I creating content? Am I responding back to questions people are asking? If I'm not doing that, then it's hard for people to respond back. I send out an email. If you click the link above, you'll get emails too. And I send out emails and I do polls and I get some amazing results. People say that they want to learn about AI visibility. And I've talked about it before. And I bring that into other frequencies like podcasts, with Pinterest, with email. So when you're able to do these things, it will help. There's some AI tools that I'm going to be discussing about that you're going to be checking out very soon. So that's coming very soon too. I just want to cover this. The next episode I'm going to be talking about here would be about national businesses. And then I'll finish it off with international businesses. I started off with local businesses because every business is different. But if you're able to see this from a long-term perspective, it's going to help you with your business and your brand and your authority long-term. Because when you start submitting your show and you start talking about these different things, you have a podcast, you're on TV, you're on the news, you're on radio, you're on one station, you're on somebody's podcast player. People listen to podcasts in different places. That's the thing about podcasts. It's so decentralized that anybody can make it. It just depends on how hard, how smart, and how diligent you want to be. I'm going into 7 years podcasting and it feels like it's 7 days because I'm doing it so passionately that I'm not looking at the time. I'm looking at the value exchange. So when you look at your podcast, you look at your show and you're asking yourself, I have all these years, how will I connect the dots? How will I let people know about what I do? I talked to somebody last week. She's all the way in London and we were on Zoom and she was talking about an episode that I released. And I was like, wow, thank you for listening. Someone sent me a message this morning on Instagram. Thank you so much. And I know you're listening too. I talked about an actionable step you can do for your business with QR codes, and she implemented it and sent me a screenshot. And I looked at my DM and I was like, wow, you implemented it? Wow, okay, this is good. So people are doing these things. Someone who's get me from Lithuania 2 weeks ago. Now we're connected through LinkedIn. So it's very rampant, but at the same time, you have to be very specific. Podcasting and LinkedIn go hand in hand. That's one thing I will say, because if you're going to be talking, you need to back up what you say with data. You have to back up what you say with evidence. You have to back up what you say with information. You can't just be talking about this and someone can't find you on LinkedIn. That's going to be a big error. But if you can be connected to on LinkedIn and see that for yourself, then you're putting the ball in somebody's court for them to now shoot their shot and say, okay, I want to make this happen. I want to make this a connection, as opposed to running away with the ball and trying to figure out where to go. You don't want to do that. You want to build relationships and have more of a pull marketing, which is attracting people to you and attracting people to your business because you're delivering information that they're asking instead of pushing them into your business or pushing them into some type of funnel, which is a great thing. But at the end of the day, would you rather have someone that's referring you to somebody else because you had a good experience the first time? Or is it because you want to just see the person show up because you're poking at them every email that you get a chance to? So it just depends on how you want to disseminate that. So Kelsey, do you have any question for me? Anyone in the chat, do you have any question for me? Now is the time. I got 4 minutes left. So I want to make sure I can answer your question. So the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Where would be a good place to start with the email list and getting leads?
Great question. So I have the answer for you. I'll put the link in the chat. I'm a Flowdesk partner, and Flowdesk is one of the best platforms I know. I've been using Flowdesk since 2019. Yeah, because they were found. It's woman led. It's 2 women. Shout out to them. I got to meet them at one of our meetings. It was really good. This was some time back. It was like the last year or the year before, but amazing people, and it's a big community. And Flowdesk is one platform that is big on quality and deliverability. And when you think about long-term success, that's one platform I would say, especially when it comes to cost effectiveness. I put my link in the chat. So anyone that's in the room, you can click the link as well and start your 14-day trial and check it out for yourself. And you can get 50% off as well with my link there. So check it out. That's the answer to your question, Kelsey. And get started. Have a podcast. Send people to that link. Create something called a form. There's something called a form on Flowdesk. That form is what you can now create as a link so that anyone that listens to your podcast, tell them, hey, do you like this information? Click here, sign up. Just like right now, if you click the link above, you're going to have that type of experience. So that way you're able to know exactly what it feels like inside. So did that answer your question, Kelsey?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kelsey, for being here. Tony T, Mr. Chris, Jonathan, Sharon, Jason, Al, Stack Pack, thank you for being here. For Luke here, thanks for being here too. I hope you guys learned something new. I'll be talking about national businesses next time, and I'll be doing that tomorrow. Actually, let me just say this now before I forget. I'm going to be doing daily rooms on Clubhouse. So if you want to catch me here on Clubhouse, just hit on my face and then turn on the notification bell. And where you'll find that, I believe, is on the right side with the 3 dots, and you'll be able to turn it to, I think, always. I think that's what it's called. It's been a while since Clubhouse, 6 years running, so it's a lot going on, a lot of changes here too. But please click the link above if you want to get most connections with me, and tap on my face, follow me, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm available online, so if you want to reach out to me, if you want to book a call and get an audit for your website, for your business, now is the time to do that. And I'll send you a video, a 5-minute video. You can watch it, and then you decide what you want to do with the information based on what you've seen, based on your intellectual property. So I'll be happy to do that and give you that information so you can start off the year better than it was last year and end better than it started this year. So thank you all. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Bye for now. If you have reached this point of the episode, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I hope this has helped you, given you some insight, because every time I come on here, or anytime I bring somebody on here, a guest, a speaker, anyone that is of relevance to you listening, is always going to give you educational value, definitely entertainment value, and most importantly, empowerment value. So thank you for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show every day. And if you want to reach out to me, you know where to find me. Click the links in the description, or go to info@playinc.online, info@playinc.online, and book a call. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk SEO. Let's talk marketing. Let's talk business. Let's talk scaling. And I look forward to meeting you and learning more about you and your business. Till we meet in the next episode, have a blessed evening. Have a blessed day, night, wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye for now. And don't forget, Jesus loves you.